Hey there, it's Adrienne Ludeking here. I'm the founder of Fruitfully Alive, and I help women become successful online freelancers so they can work from home. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about freelancing versus entrepreneurship. Which one are you? Because it's really, really important for you to make that distinction right here at the beginning of the journey. Just so you know, there's nothing for sale. There's no pitch at the end of this video. This is just some free content I wanted to give you because this is something that I think you need to know. So you're going to want to have a paper and a pen handy, and let's dive right in. So you are here, you've encountered this video because you are looking to work from home. You want to start a work from home business. And there's a lot that has to do with that. There's a lot of steps that you need to take. There's a lot of information that you have to wade through. Maybe if you're here, you're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling confused. There are two terms I use often is information overload and shiny object syndrome. Information overload is when it's exactly what it sounds like. There's an overload of the information out there and you're overwhelmed. That usually happens when you Google, how do I work from home? Or how to work from home? Or which freelancing path is right for me? And then you get inundated with so much content that you don't quite know how to sift through it all. Shiny object syndrome is a kind of information overload where you are seeing different opportunities, different things that you can pursue, that you can invest your time or your money into, and there's a lot of them. So you have this kind of shiny object jumping from thing to thing, and you feel drained, you feel scattered, and you're not making a lot of progress. So if that sounds like you, or you're just at the beginning of the work from home journey, I'm really glad you're here because this is designed for you. This is a free masterclass that I'm doing on the very important things that you need to know right now at the beginning of your journey. So I want to jump right into that, which is when you have made that first decision, I want to work from home. There's another big decision that you need to make, and that is, do I want to build a freelancing business or an entrepreneurial business? So I'm going to first begin by defining the difference between freelancing and entrepreneurship because it's really important. Now, the definition of online freelancing is a virtual exchange of time for money. Very simple. So if I was to say proofread a page, I do that and I'm paid for that page. So it's a direct exchange of my time proofreading for money. So it's simple. I love freelancing. This is what I teach. It's my zone of genius. And that's what I think is the best way to go about building a work from home business, at least at the beginning. Now, the second path that you can take is that of an entrepreneurial venture. And a quick example of that would be, say, blogging. So entrepreneurship is simply the indirect exchange of time for money. So if any of you have thought about starting blogs, what that is you invest a lot of time, energy, and sometimes money in the hopes of eventually seeing a return that compensates you for the time and money and energy that you've spent. And blogging is great, guys. I love blogging. Fruitfully Alive actually started out as a blog. But there's a few, that difference in definitions between freelancing and online entrepreneurship, between an indirect and a direct way of earning money, that brings with it a lot of connotations, a lot of implications that you need to consider before you move forward, that you need to consider in terms of what you want and in terms of what you have, before you can make the decision, which path am I going to enter into. So this video is going to talk a little bit about the differences, the pros and cons of each, and helping you as individually helping you figure out which path is right for you, because that's really the most important thing here. That's the point of this video. So you've already heard me say I think freelancing is the best way usually because first off, it is the simplest way. And by that I mean because it's a direct exchange of time for money, you simply render the service and you're paid for it. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. Which is why I love it, because you can simply start seeing money a little bit sooner. And that's very important because when you are just getting started, oftentimes, I mean, I actually have never had a student come up to me and say, well, I'm free all day, so I've decided to start a business. Usually, when my students come to me and say, I want to work from home, the reasoning behind that is I want to spend more time with my children. I want more freedom. I want more flexibility, which implies that you don't have a lot of freedom and a lot of flexibility. So when people come to me with situations like that, where I don't have a lot of time, I don't have a lot of money, I don't have a lot of resources, I automatically I'm seeing that freelancing is better for them because it's more direct and it's simpler. And that is what they need in that moment. They need something simple. They need something direct. A blog is a wonderful way of making money from home, but it's going to take a lot of investment of your time, energy, and some money before you see a return. And you might not see a return for a year even, or sometimes longer. That's just the nature of the business. Now, that's not to say that there's only cons for going the entrepreneurial route. There's an important distinction that we have to make here as well, is that freelancing tends to have more of an income ceiling, more of an income cap than, say, entrepreneurship. For instance, court transcript proofreading. I don't think you can make more than $3,500 or $4,000 a month doing that. And it'll take you a lot of time and effort to get to $3,500 a month. Okay, I don't see you going past 4,000. It'll take quite a lot of effort to even hit 4. So that's something. You will never make 6 figures as a court transcript proofreader. In entrepreneurship, a blog kind of has no limits. I know blogs that make 5 figures, 6 figures, even 7 figures. There's really no limit to that. So that I'm not going to talk about that too much right now in terms of which freelancing path will give you a certain amount of money. That's more for another video. But if that's an important distinction that you need to consider for yourself. How much money are you looking to make? If you're looking to make, say, anywhere between $1,000 and $6,000, freelancing might be perfect for you because there are many niches that will yield that amount. Court transcript proofreading won't get you to 6, but say, graphic design will, bookkeeping will. Some branches of virtual assistant will, copywriting will. So, you have to end up choosing a niche that's going to match what you want and match what fits your lifestyle. So it's important for you to determine, am I looking for a business that's going to support me, or am I looking to kind of build an empire? Because you can do it more easily in the entrepreneurial route versus, say, freelancing. Now, it's important to consider that just because you go the blogging route, just because you go the entrepreneurial route, doesn't mean you're going to build an empire. It just means that you can, and you'll be able to more easily than, say, as a freelancer, because of the inherent limits of a direct exchange of time for money. Time is finite, therefore the income will be capped. Therefore, the income will be finite. Does that make sense? So, that's something that you want to consider, is how much money do you want to make? Because freelancing or entrepreneurship will give you kind of the right kind of clues as to which one is right for you. So if you don't know me, my name's Adrienne Ludeking, in case you've forgotten, and I started out as a court transcript proofreader. I was living in Los Angeles with dreams of being a movie producer, and I didn't want to wait tables, so I started proofreading court transcripts, and I was making about $3,000 a month on part-time hours. And it changed my life because it made me fall in love with being my own boss in a way that it was just that I never expected that I would fall so in love with working from home, with designing my days, with having freedom and flexibility. So in that time, I created Fruitfully Alive to answer the question, how does one build a successful freelance business? And in the last several years, I've been working with freelancers in all different niches, helping them build their businesses, helping them get clients. And that's what I do all day, every day. So I'm so happy to be here sharing this information with you. So I want to talk a little bit about another kind of pro and con of freelancing versus entrepreneurship. And that is, freelancing can sometimes feel a little bit like you are an employee. like you are on call. And that is simply because you get your income from clients. So even though I'm very adamant with my students that you are not, you're not an employee, your clients are not the boss, you are the boss, there is still that kind of feeling of, you know, you have to be on call, you have to make them happy. So you have to consider that as well if you're comfortable having clients and managing clients and dealing with clients. Versus entrepreneurship, where if you're running a blog, you are your own boss. There's no one setting deadlines for you. There's no one kind of pushing you to show up. So it's an interesting thing that you have to consider when you are choosing a path. Is, are you the kind of person who has poor follow through? Do you finish the projects that you start? Because if you don't, entrepreneurship might not be the right one for you, simply because there's no one there putting pressure on you. There's no one there telling you to get up and blog, to get up and write a post, and to post it on Pinterest and on Facebook and on Instagram, and to create a new freebie, and to email your list. There's no one. It is all on you to make it happen. Whereas if you're a freelancer, your client expects certain things at a certain time that you both have agreed on. So that extra kind of accountability, if you will, or just pressure to meet a deadline might be what you need to make sure you are building a business that gives you the income you want to see. So that's another thing to consider if you, just in terms of your personality. But there's another aspect to that too, whereas it's more like, you know, how do I want to be dealing with clients? And if you don't want to deal with clients at all, then maybe entrepreneurship is right for you. But there are freelance niches where you don't have to deal with clients too often. For instance, virtual assistants, you definitely do. You'll be working in close contact with your clients. You may even be on, you know, team hours where everybody's working at the same time and doing video calls to update on projects and things like that. But if you're, say, a proofreader, you know, you may only speak with your client via email a couple of times just to confirm receipt of the project and to confirm receipt of the delivery of the project. So you may not have to interact a whole lot with your client. So just because you say, no, I don't want to deal with clients, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go the entrepreneurial route. You can definitely stick around and just choose a niche where client involvement is at a minimum. So that's one thing to consider, as well as you as a person. And you'll find that I emphasize that quite a bit. Is I am a person that believes you can have your cake and eat it too. I believe you can find a niche, a freelancing path, if you will. When I say niche or path, I mean things like bookkeeping, proofreading, virtual assistants. I do believe you can find a niche that will not only bring the income you want to see, but will suit you as a person, your unique personality, your traits, the things that you want, your inclinations. I do believe you can find a niche that suits you as a whole. And it's actually something I'm passionate about helping people discover, is what their niche is. So, but this video is not about that, because it's really just about getting you very clear on what freelancing is and what it isn't, and what entrepreneurship is and what it isn't. So, you know, there is that element of simplicity in freelancing that entrepreneurship doesn't really have. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about, sometimes people want to do both. They want to have a blog and be, say, a virtual assistant. And I want to talk a little bit about ease of transition, because the goal of working from home is something I call freelance freedom. That's simply when you have achieved the vision that you had for yourself when you decided you wanted to work from home. When I ask you the question, why do you want to work from home? You often have an answer like, you know, I want to spend more time with my children. I want to be able to travel and go on vacation. I want to visit my family. I want to design my own days and set my own hours and not wake up with an alarm clock and make $4,000 a month. Freelance freedom is when your life looks like what you have just described. When your life looks like what you were aiming for, what you were driving for. Your business is the engine of the car, of the vehicle that gets to your dreams, that gets to your goals. That's the whole point of it. So ease of transition means when you are at that point it is quite easy for you to transition to something else. And that is simply because you now have freedom and you now have flexibility. And that means that you can then use that freedom and flexibility however you wish. You know, for me, who built my freelance business to support my dreams of movie producing, that's something that I do now. I run Fruitfully Alive. I still work with freelancers. But in some of my free time, I am producing film and television. So it's up to you to decide what you want. If at that point you want to transition into another niche or transition into entrepreneurship, you absolutely can. So I see that a lot sometimes. A student will say, well, I want to blog and be a virtual assistant, but obviously I don't recommend that you do both at once. So I say, well, your time and your resources are limited right now, but you will have, you know, lots more time and resources when you've reached freelance freedom. So how about, as a virtual assistant, you'll be working with bloggers, and not just bloggers, but bloggers who can pay you, which means bloggers who have reached a certain level of success. So as you're working for them, you are have had to have gained the skill set needed to help them, and B, are seeing the ins and outs of a successful blogging business, which you can then apply to your own business when you've reached that point in time where you want to transition. So there's an ease of transition there that I want to remark upon to take the pressure off. Because a lot of times people can say, well, I just don't know what niche I want to enter. I'm thinking about being a Facebook ads manager or a Pinterest ads manager or, you know, a proofreader. And I'll say, well, you know, it doesn't always necessarily, you're not necessarily going to choose the wrong niche because you're not cemented in any choice for the rest of your life. Freelance freedom means you can do whatever you want. So if you go one way and start making $1,000, $2,000, and it's enough for you to ditch your 9 to 5 or whatever it is, then you can transition into something else if it takes your fancy. So you don't have to necessarily feel like the decision that you're going to make at the beginning of your freelance journey will be the decision that you have to carry on for the rest of your career. When I started a court transcript proofreading business, I never dreamed that I would then build Fruitfully Alive, which started as a blog, and start helping so many people build their work from home businesses. I never dreamed it when I just started proofreading. I was just hoping to make a couple $1,000s so I could pay my expenses while I was trying to make movies. So you have to see it that way and kind of take the pressure off of yourself a little bit. But we will talk about choosing your niche and how to do that in another video. Because I don't want to overwhelm you too much with this. So something that, but while we're on that subject, I want to talk a little bit also about passion. Because passion is really important when you are, when you're kind of choosing a niche or choosing a way to go. People often will say, I just don't feel passionate about any of these niches. And I want to caution you about that. Because it's not necessarily always going to be the niche itself that inspires passion. It may just be the fact that you are building the business of your dreams. For instance, I never woke up and got out of bed saying, I get to proofread a court transcript today. You know, how exciting. It's very important that you don't dislike what you do. But it's not as important to be passionate about it. I was never passionate about proofreading court transcripts. I didn't dislike it, and that's the important thing. But I was never passionate about it. What I was passionate about was building a business, was being my own boss, was creating that lifestyle that I wanted for myself. That's what got me out of bed in the morning. That's what I was passionate about. And that's what I want to urge you to consider when you're looking for a niche that inspires that passion in you, because it may not happen that way. I see passion more in the arts categories of niches, meaning graphic design, brand design, things like that, web design, because it takes artistry to do that, and you can't kind of fake being an artist if you're not. So I definitely see passion as being a factor in those niches, but in other niches like bookkeeping, Facebook ads management, copywriting, copy editing, things like that, passion may not necessarily be present in the service itself. It might be, however, in the kind of client that you help. For instance, if you're a bookkeeper for restaurants, for Italian restaurants, that might be something that you're passionate about, that you love. Or if you're a freelance writer and you're passionate about traveling, writing about traveling. You may not have a passion for writing, but you have a passion for traveling, so you have so much to share. And as long as you don't dislike writing, you'll be a-okay as a freelance writer for clients that deal with travel. So those are important things that I want you all to consider. Now, we've talked a little bit about the income cap, and we've talked a little bit about feeling like you're on call versus completely without accountability or deadline, and the pros and cons of those. So it's really about, at this point, just looking inward. Don't worry about the information that you have, the freebies that you've downloaded, the content that you've been reading. The whole point right now is to just look inward and say, what do I want? What is freelance freedom for me? What is my dream? Do I want to build a 6-figure business? Do I want to just make an extra $3,000 to supplement my husband's income so we can all just breathe a little bit and just have more flexibility? Do I want to work however many hours? Do I want to work with clients? Do I need that kind of accountability, that kind of deadline? Do I have a lot of time and resources to invest without seeing a return? You have to ask yourself these questions that I've raised in this video for you to determine the path that's right for you. There is no, I say that I prefer freelancing, and I do, but there is no that is the right way for everybody at all times. No, I'm very much an it depends kind of person, because I really like looking at people's situations individually and helping them figure out their paths in terms of their unique situations and their needs. So it's important for you to take what I'm giving you right now in this video and to work it out for yourself. And don't look so much at what other people are doing. Oh, I read this article of this bookkeeper who's making $6,000. I should do that. Or I read this article about this proofreader or this copywriter that's making 6 figures. Should I do that? That comes later. We will talk about that at another time, choosing a niche that's right for you. The important thing for you to do now is to determine whether you are an entrepreneur or a freelancer. If you're a freelancer, then you'll benefit from the things that Fruitfully Alive has to offer. The articles on my site, my emails, things like that, the video content that I create. If you're an entrepreneur, which is what I am now, running Fruitfully Alive, then that's an exciting road in and of itself to enter into. So you have to consider it from all of those angles and to determine which one is right for you. And feel free to always reach out to me if you have any questions, because I'm more than happy to help you. Now, I want to add a little note, and that is it impossible to make 6 figures as a freelancer? No, it is not. It most certainly is not. But as I've already said about other niches, it is more, you can do it in certain niches and not in others. Like proofreading, forget it. You're not going to make 6 figures as a proofreader. But as a bookkeeper or as a web designer or as a Facebook ads manager, oh yeah, it's possible. So, if you want to make 6 figures, but you still feel like being a freelancer is what you want to do, you can go that route, and it's possible to get there. It'll just depend on your niche, but also what it sometimes depends on is when you're scaling your business, adding a little bit of entrepreneurship into your freelancing business. And what I mean by that is, if you are, I'll give you an example, a Facebook ads manager. And you take on clients and you're doing well and you want to scale, you want to make more money. You can charge more. That's one way to scale. Obviously, you can niche down who your client is and charge a little bit more. But what you can also do is take an entrepreneurial aspect and add that into your business. So for instance, not just doing Facebook ads management, but teaching Facebook ads management in, say, a course, and selling that course. And that's an entrepreneurship thing, because that's not an indirect exchange of time that is an indirect exchange of time for money. So you add that into your business and you add in another revenue stream. So that's possible. I don't want you to get too focused on that now, because you're right at the beginning of the journey and that's, way further ahead. But I just want to bring it to your attention that you can do that in the future. When you want to scale up, when you want to make more money, you can always merge the two paths and do entrepreneurship and freelancing. Now, there's something else that I wanted to cover, and that is financial pressure. That's a term that I hear thrown around a lot, and it's not quite what it sounds like in terms of, I don't have money, I have financial pressure. I mean it more in terms of the ways in which you can make money and the level of pressure that comes along in those different ways. For instance, if you have a blog, there's a lot of ways to make money that are open to you. One of them being ads. You can put advertisements on your blog. That is a very low financial pressure way of making money, because you just put up the ads and kind of forget about it. You keep on doing what you're doing and the money comes in. So it's very low financial pressure. But if you're doing something like selling a course, that's much higher financial pressure, because you have to create it, you have to sell it, you have to market it, things like that. It just comes with more pressure. Working with clients in freelancing capacity is a higher form of financial pressure, because that revenue stream requires your constant attention, your management from beginning to end. So it's an important thing to consider in terms of how you want to build your business and how you want to monetize it. How you want to make money, and what kinds of pressure you're willing to accept in order to make certain kinds. So another example is affiliate marketing. If you are selling somebody else's course, that's much lower in terms of financial pressure, because it's not your own and you don't have to offer support for it. You just have to market it. So things like that are important to consider when you are wanting to make money from home. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you all too much with a lot of information, but if you've watched this video and you're finding it helpful, you're probably getting a sense as to whether you are an entrepreneur or a freelancer. If you have decided to be a freelancer, your next step is to choose a niche. Your next step is to decide what kind of freelancer you want to be. And this is again where I caution you on the things that I spoke about at the beginning of this video: information overload and shiny object syndrome. This is where that definitely starts to happen, because that's when you start saying, oh, proofreading sounds good, I could do that. Ooh, virtual assistants, that sounds good, I could do that. Or bookkeeping. I don't know if I'm good with numbers, but that sure sounds good. And then you get a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear involved with building a work from home business. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of marketing, fear of making a mistake and wasting a lot of time and energy and money on things that won't pull in the income you want to see. There's a lot of fear, and fear is a paralytic. So what I want you to do is take it one step at a time. You've watched this video, which is really good. Decide right now, well, not right now necessarily, but just pause on everything and figure out if you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer. If you're a freelancer, know that your next step is to choose a niche. And if you're on that step, stick with me, because I'd love to give you some free content about that as well. Because that's definitely, you need some guidance for that as well, just to help you navigate the enormous amount of information out there when it comes to building a business in a particular niche and choosing a niche. So we'll talk about that, but that is what your next step is. And it's very important that you always go step by step, because when you go out of order, or when you just do too many things at once, that's also a paralytic. And I call that progress paralysis, where you end up getting nothing done, but you do end up with a lot of overwhelm and exhaustion and frustration. And that's what I don't want. I hate seeing that when I have so many students that come up to me and they're just tired and they're just overwhelmed and they're frustrated and they don't feel good about what's going on. And it's usually to do with the fact that they are overwhelmed by the amount of information out there, and they're scattered and they just don't know which way to turn. So I want you to keep the focus on you right now, because it will actually be a lot of inner work that will tell you exactly the niche that's right for you. I hope you enjoyed that masterclass on freelancing versus entrepreneurship. If you found it helpful and you think freelancing is the right move for you, is the right path for you, I want to invite you to join the wait list for the free event, the 5 Days to Freelance Freedom Challenge. It's my signature event that I run once or twice a year. It's completely free, and it is a jam-packed 2 weeks where I coach you through building your own successful online freelancing business from the ground up, from the very beginning, outlining each stage, holding your hand, walking you through it. It's pretty much 2 weeks of intensive coaching with me on building your business. And the best thing is it is absolutely free. We have a fantastic time, and the next challenge is just around the corner. So if you're interested, definitely sign up for the waitlist and you will be the first to know. Have a wonderful day.